All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. If everyone would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, before we begin, we've got a big crowd. I love it. We're going to have a public input session, but prior to that, the vice chair is going to go over some of the norms and rules of public input.
Okay. We're going to have one 15-minute public input session at the beginning and possibly a second one at the end at the discretion of the chair. Just please give your name and what town you're from. We're basically, for these sessions are for Noble residents, although the chair may let someone speak from another town at his discretion. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. And remember, we can't discuss any personnel issues about specific employees in a public meeting. So that's what I have to take up with the principal with the superintendent.
And with all that said, is there any public input this evening? Any at all? Okay, no public input. Moving on to the acceptance of the minutes of April 26th, 2018.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
I have a couple issues with them. On the first page, it says that the district budget meeting is on May 21st, 2018. And then on the vote that we took to approve the warrant, it says that it's June 8th, 2017.
So the BDR...
Oh, that was last year, never mind.
No, we're still okay. One's the budget validation referendum. So the actual referendum that they go to is on 8th, the voting. But the town meeting part is on the 21st, so...
Right, so the dates are actually accurate. May 21st is the town meeting, and then June 8th is the actual budget referendum.
Double check that for me, though, would you just make sure it doesn't say, for instance...
It
town
says
meeting?
2017.
Oh, okay, so it's 17. Okay, we can fix
Sorry.
that.
And there's,
No, that's just a mistake there. Yep.
yeah, okay.
I'm still thinking it's 17.
Wait a second.
I think
The
it
21st?
was June 12th is on a Tuesday, that's when we vote on a Tuesday.
Okay, so that says June 8th, 2017.
Yes, it does.
And June 12th, 2018.
Good catch.
All
Good
right.
catch, Beth. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw that. I said Friday night.
So the hearing's still the 21st.
Yes.
Okay.
At what time?
It's a Monday.
6:30 PM for the town meeting in the auditorium.
So it's May 21st?
Yeah.
May
it's a Monday
21st,
night,
6:30 PM in the auditorium,
Okay.
town meeting,
And then voting.
and then voting, and it's on the cover of the pages that'll be coming out very shortly. They're at the printers now, they'll be mailed out shortly for the annual reports that lists all the voting timeframes.
Okay. And then in the next paragraph, it said that I made a motion and it was seconded by...
An empty space?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll fill in that empty space.
Do we want a second?
Yeah, I'm sure Steve's got it in his notes. We'll look
Okay.
at it.
Which one is that on?
The draft calendar.
Calendar, thank you. I have Joanne.
Got it.
Any other catches and amendments?
That's all I've done.
Okay. Motion to approve as amended.
Yes.
I have a motion to approve as amended. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Second from Stan. All those in favor? Abstaining? 7-1.
And the one was...
Mr. Dwyer.
Oh, Charles. Thank you. And we are missing, Denise said she was not able to make it tonight. Thank you.
Okay. moving on to what looks like a very nice block of very nice news. National History Day, Maine State Science Fair.
Yes, so what we're going to do in just a minute, Adina, I'm going to take a wild guess and say you might be telling us what's going on with NHD, right? Sure. So what she is going to do is explain the National History Day piece, and then students will introduce themselves and what their project is. For instance, Jacob's going to tell us that he has solved world hunger, and after he does that, then the next person will tell us what they're solving. So we'll go through NHD, they will introduce themselves and their projects, and then because we're going to be taking a break during the meeting where there's no mics, no portables. So then Ray and Morgan are here, and thank you. And we're going to have, Mr. Nye, are you explaining or are they explaining? You are.
I will, and they will after.
Okay, so an introduction of what the science fair whole purpose is, which I think people have some good information on, maybe just from experience. And then Morgan and Ray will introduce themselves again and talk about their project, and then they'll be set up there as well. So that'll allow the camera to then take a break and the board to go around the library and hear from students and interact and see what great things our students are doing. How's that? Sound okay?
All right. Hi everyone, I'm Adina Hunter. Is this on?
Yeah,
It is?
just fine, yeah.
Emily, do you want to come up here too? Emily McKinney? No? All right, I am Adina Hunter. I'm the high school Excel teacher. And we had 23 Noble High School and Noble Middle School students that competed in the Maine State National History Day competition this year. The National History Day competition is actually an international history competition. Students get to choose a topic of their choice. It can be about anything in history, and they have to relate it to an annual theme. This year the theme was conflict and compromise, so that theme changes from year to year. Students compete either in the junior level or in the senior level, and they can choose to make a project in one of 5 categories. So they can write a paper, they can make a documentary, they can write and perform a performance, they can do an exhibit, and they can do a website. I think that was 5. So out of the 23 students that we brought to the state competition, we have 18 win awards. And not just any awards, first and second place. They all got first or second place. And those awards qualified them for the national competition in June. So out of the 18, we have 5 groups that are traveling on to the national competition in June. It is quite an endeavor to go on to the national competition. It can be quite expensive. It's $150 to register. So unfortunately, not all of our students were able to go on and do that, but we are proud of their accomplishments at the state level. So what I'm going to have you guys do is line up along here. Yes, come on up, everyone. Don't be shy.
Adina, can you clarify something for me?
Yep.
When you say it's $150 for it, you mean
Per person.
and the National History Day, the Nationals are where?
They're at the University of Maryland, right outside Washington, D.C. So it's $150 for each student to register, and then obviously they have to find transportation and housing once they get down there. Unfortunately, the funding for the National History Day program has largely been cut in Washington. So the registration fees have gone up and up and up and up over the years, which has made it difficult for our students to participate at the national level. So we are going to be participating in some fundraising events to hopefully help these students pave the way to be able to go.
So just out of curiosity, besides the 150, you said they've got to find transportation down. Are you folks taking a bus or something down?
We have some students that are flying. We have some students that are driving. We have some students that are taking the train. Lots of planes, trains, and
You have $2,700 just to register that group.
yeah, it is. It's only $5 to register at the state competition, though. Yeah. So we had a very successful year and super proud of these guys. Any other questions before I turn it over to these guys? Guys, I'll have you come up and say your name. You guys can introduce yourself as a group and say your project title and what place you got, what award you, or awards that you got. Okay?
Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Hamill.
You gotta say it into the microphone.
I'm Jacob Hamill.
I'm Emily Lowry.
I'm Lucas Bent.
Well, could you, I'm really sorry, when you tell, because they won't know it's going to, the camera's going to be off, it's going to be a break, can you tell people what you worked, the title of your...
They're getting there.
Yeah, they're all in a group.
Our project is called Disney versus Fleischer Studios, The Conflict, Compromise, and Everlasting Impact.
We won first place in the group documentary category as well as the Innovation in History Award.
Let me say Sorry, I have to brag a little bit more about this group. The Innovation in History Award, this was the first year that they gave out this prize, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It was given out to a project that was really innovative and that covered an innovator in history. So their project was all about Walt Disney and Max Fletcher, that rivalry between these two animation studios. And they have the opportunity to present their project in Lewiston at the Maine Innovators Conference. So that's happening in May.
I'll put them right in the notes, but I'm not going to be able to do as good a job as that. So,
I'll forward it to you.
thank you.
I'm Abigail Albert. I'm Emily Enright.
And I'm Alex Hart.
And we won first place for our performance titled The Execution of Martha Carrier, How One Woman's Untimely Feminism Led to Her Demise.
My name is Mackenzie Slater,
My name is Samuel Dyer.
and we won second place for group documentary in the senior division for our documentary entitled Baffling the Axis Powers, The Genius of the Navajo Code.
My name is Liliana Bent. And I'm Catherine Osborne. And our project is called Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X, Fighting for Their Rights. And it was about how the two civil rights leaders changed history. And we won first place in the junior group division.
I'm Genevieve Roy. I'm Stella Carpenter partially. We competed in the group website senior division, and we won second place with our website titled Leonard Matlovich, the Steadfast Soldier for Gay Rights.
My name is Joe Thorne. I competed in senior individual website where I won second place. This is my second year competing. Yeah, and the website was called Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, Leading the Turkish War for Independence.
Do you want to say what happened to you last year?
I'm Jackson Monroe,
I'm Lucky Sear.
and we did a website on how to resolve the Cuban Missile Crisis, and this is our fourth year competing, and we got first place was this one.
Yeah, I'm going to brag more about you. Okay, So these guys are seniors, and they've been competing for 4 years, and they've done a senior group website for the past 4 years, and they've won first place for all 4 years.
And now coming up, we have the Maine State Science Fair.
I'm Adam Nye. I teach science electives here at Noble High School, and for the last 2 years, I've had the pleasure of sort of serving as an advisor to the Maine State Science Fair elective, which is effectively a year-long class where students, they basically get a budget at the beginning of the year, and they are tasked with designing, executing, and then analyzing an authentic research project that they then take up to both of the last years. It's been one of the colleges in Waterville, so Colby College the first year, and then Thomas College this year. And they present to a panel of judges, and it's very similar to National History Day, but for science. And then if you win, you get to go to nationals similarly. This year, we had 6 students participate after the guinea pig group of 2 last year, and all of them received really excellent feedback. And this year was particularly special because kind of on late notice, they earned their first award, which was awesome. So about a week and a half after we participated, Morgan Griffin got a letter in the mail saying that the University of Maine had offered her a full scholarship to attend their renewable for 4 years, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, it's been really fun to work with. We got a bunch of, most of the time, motivated students who did some really good work when it came down to it. And they're all excellent presenters as well, which was a real boon. So I will let them come up, and then they'll tell you each about their project a little bit and what they did. And then Ray and Morgan did bring their projects from the last 2 years. And they're hanging up over there, and they'll be around. They'll all be around if you want to ask any of them questions about what they did during the break.
I'm Morgan Griffin.
My name is Ray Horn. So we were the guinea pig group. Me and Morgan were the first 2 kids to compete in the Maine State Science Fair from Noble, which was pretty exciting. Basically, we did a 2-year project, and in the end, the gist of it is we are creating a method where we can statistically predict the germinization and colonization patterns of invasive species in the state of Maine before they take root.
My name is Jared Rudis. I did this project this year, just this year, didn't do last year. And my project was on superconductors and basically how they can levitate above magnets.
My name is Sydney Burgess. I worked with Madison Momini. She's not here right now, but our project was basically creating a small-scale aquaculture system based on filtration through evaporation that would sustain a small population of brook trout.
Yes, so Adina, there's projects back there, and there's some over here, and so forth, and the science pieces are over here, right?
Yep, I think most of the projects are over there. So I can have the students go over there. And
I think what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 15 to 20 minute TV break so the board and the public can go see these individual projects and speak to the students and get a feel for how they're doing and congratulate them on their hard work. And we will be back shortly with more business. Thank you. Welcome back. We just saw the science fair and the National History Day. It's pretty impressive. What's everyone think?
Pretty good. More than pretty.
However, we did have some comments from the folks out here that they were upset that they couldn't see our school board meetings on BC TV. So I want to remind everybody, as we reminded them, that not only is it on Berwick TV, you can also stream it on www.berwickmaine.org. That plug just paid for my mortgage, and let's move on. To number 6, Mark Mumay and Rebecca Duan's New York City Music Festival.
Okay, so Mark, I think, said he was in Portsmouth and Rebecca is in someplace else, and they said, boy, we really regret not being able to join you, but Mark provided me with an update. Says the Noble Band and Chorus had a very successful trip, I'll provide you this,
Yeah, thank you.
to New York City on the 27th and 28th. Upon arrival in New York, group went to Riverside Cathedral in Manhattan. That's where the music festival was located. The band performed first for 3 distinguished and nationally known adjudicators. Following the performance, 2 of the adjudicators came up to the stage to offer a verbal critique and clinic. Additionally, the adjudicators record spoken commentary over the performance that is shared with the director after the festival. They also gave the band numerical rating scores, and they listen to so that they have things that they can listen to when they get back to rehearsal, and then they can act on those comments to make improvements. Then the concert choir and chamber singers performed in the massive cathedral itself. If you haven't seen this particular Riverside Cathedral, just Google it, and it's an incredible setting. The band does not perform in the cathedral itself, though, as it would be too loud. The sound would just get blurred in the massive space. However, the reverberant acoustics are perfect for choral ensembles. The students were in awe of the visual majesty of the cathedral and the several-second echo that lasted after each musical cutoff. Following the performances, the group went to restaurants and so forth, and the Majestic Theater to see the Phantom of the Opera. They boarded buses to ride the hotel ride. After breakfast, they visited 9/11 Memorial and the museum in Lower Manhattan, Grand Central Station, sightseeing, and they saw students enjoyed the giant area that they recognized from the movie Madagascar. On the agenda was a walk up Fifth Avenue to sightsee and so forth. The weather was in the 60s. Finally, it was back on the bus to head back to Riverside. There were schools from Texas, North Carolina, Mississippi, Massachusetts, Canada, among others. And after the ceremony, they boarded the buses again and went to the piers, Statue of Liberty. They took a cruise, Statue of Liberty. They had a dinner dance cruise in New York Harbor. And at 11 p.m. they boarded the buses one last time for the trip home. There were 96 students, 15 chaperones, 2 directors, and a partridge in a pear tree. Each group is, that's what it says. Each group is given
You finally told the joke good enough to make the camera crew laugh.
Thank you. I'll be back. I'll be back at 7.
It's been how many years?
He's got more laughs than I did, just that quick. All right. Thank you. What's going on with the girls? Each group is given a rating of gold, 90 to 100, silver 80 to 89, or bronze 70 to 79. And groups are ranked in order of finish for the overall score in the category. The concert choir, gold, first place, mixed choirs. Chamber singers, gold, second place, chamber choirs. Concert band, gold, second place, concert bands. The concert band adjudicators award was received also, given to bands that achieve an average score of 92 or higher. Only 2 bands in the festival won this. Noble as a school district band program, orchestral program. Sweepstakes for total program award, given to the school with the highest combined score from 2 different kinds of groups. This is the final award of the night and is the largest trophy. We're especially proud of this as it represents strength in both band and choral programs at Noble. When you see the superintendent's newsletter that's coming out probably tomorrow, you'll see the pictures and the hardware and so forth. We're going to need some more trophy cases, so that's nice.
Can I mention the middle part? So,
Was there something about Carnegie Hall?
there is.
Yes.
Thank you. That was what was missing, is the choir.
How do you leave that up?
I don't know, the choir's been invited. Both the band and the choir were both invited to the Festival of Gold, which is the nationwide version of this. They qualified. So the band is San Francisco, Los Angeles, Tennessee, or Chicago. There's 4 spots where they can go attend. Not all 4, but they can pick one. And the choral bit got invited, and I think it was 2 bands out of this, 2 choruses out of this prelim here got invited to perform at Carnegie Hall next year.
Wonderful. Pretty darn cool.
So Noble High School is going to be in Carnegie Hall. How's that?
That's fantastic.
Awesome, thank you for.
How did you get to Carnegie?
See, this is what happens when you get a Barry Sachs.
So Dustin said to me the other night, so this guy comes up and says, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, son, practice.
That's two you made it last.
That wasn't mine, that was his.
This is my last meeting because you're never going to finish. We're never going to top this. All right. So all great news. Student report. Caitlin, I think, is senioriting or whatever. What is it called? Senioritis sitting out. She got herself a job. So she's working tonight. We're going to have to find ourselves a new student, I think, pretty quickly.
I think we have one, possibly two.
Okay, we'll get them in. Moving right along to the summer board schedule.
So, summer dates, the board meetings, we typically have one July meeting and one August meeting. The potential dates for those are July 19th and August 16th. And I'd like to find out about people, about their availability on either of those days. I think, and help me recall this correctly, because, you know, I did just cross over to the other side yesterday, into that big 6-0 place. Already, like 10 minutes after I told her something, I was telling it to her again, she's like...
It wasn't 10 minutes. It was like 2.5
July we're looking at?
minutes. Literally. He came in and sat down and retold me. I was just about, I'm like, stop. You just told me the story.
And Kevin Moore said
very funny.
he heard it took me 3 hours to get home the other day because when I hit the Sanford Rotary, I forgot to... This is what it's like.
Yeah. I did a little
It gets a lot
all
worse.
staff, you know.
This is what happens.
Yeah, Mr.
Just
Connolly.
record this, you know.
Yeah.
Remember
It's very
this.
funny.
Yes, got the walker and everything. So I think what we did last year was we spent most of the day together, and we had a break for a dinner that was provided, and then I thought we had an early dinner, an early board meeting, like a 4 o'clock or something like that. So an abbreviated board, is that close?
I think it, yeah.
I thought that was short.
Remembered that correctly.
Wow, awesome. And then I reported that the A-team went goofy golfing and Dustin was upset.
This is true.
So,
You just brought that up because I was gone.
I'm still pointing out that this should be the 18th.
Team building, I love it.
How are we not the 18th?
Because the word admin starts with an A.
Also ends with an N. They could
This
be
is
the
a
end.
No, we're the B team, but the board just...
This is,
Okay.
I'm displeased.
So,
What were the dates?
July 19th would be the date for one meeting, and then August 16th. So my question to you folks is, on either of those 2 days, is the board available to do a daytime retreat followed by an early meeting? And yes, we will schedule part of that opportunity for team building fun.
Oh, no.
Please don't make us have to go remember 5 things about somebody. I can't.
No, that's not how it goes.
Yeah, it is how it goes. That's what we did last.
I know.
Let's mix it up. So,
Okay.
can you give me the
We're
dates
on
again?
full basketball
August, July 19th or August 16th? And do you know we do have an admin retreat booked for those 2 days?
July 19th?
No, for the 15th and 16th?
Of August?
The admin retreat.
July 19th is wide open for me.
How's July 19th looking for a retreat?
July
No, I
19th
didn't
is
see
a
that.
definite yes for me.
All right, I can do it. As
long
long
as
as
There we
it's
go.
team building, games, activities.
It's gonna take me a little while to do my math here.
How do you have a retreat and just be all business? I'm wearing a straw hat and my like Hawaiian shirt.
What? No, I don't want on the TV, but that's
Right.
yeah, the 19th.
No straw hats. Okay.
I'm just wearing a
Lynn?
straw hat.
Probably.
Probably. Rebecca?
Yeah, I think I'm really scheduled, so.
Okay, so we'll build some stuff in to do a July 19,
July 19th.
and
For the-
Stan's over there laughing, yeah.
I have stuff for you to do on that day too, Stan.
So is that going to be the one where we have the retreat?
I bet you do.
Yes,
On the 19th.
so we'll have the retreat
So it'll
during
be
the day of the 19th,
Okay.
And then we'll have the early abbreviated board meeting. Because usually in the summer, there's a couple of things that could be on that. It could be a re-entry that has happened prior to the end of the school year that times itself out. Or it could be that we have updates from DOE or something like that. You might have seen that, for instance, recently that the DOE, that the legislature did not finish the session on the appropriations for education. So the mill rate has not officially been set, and I'm really concerned because
That's right.
whose decision is that? Is it the legislature's or is it the governor's office? I mean, who is going to be the final determiner of that? So anyways, it's another topic. So one thing I have for you don't say I've never brought you anything. I was looking online and I heard from another person, he said, hey, there's this really fun book by Richard Mayer called How Not to Be a Terrible School Board Member, Lessons for School Administrators.
Not to interrupt you, but I think I speak for the board, and what are you trying to tell us?
Well, I'm trying to tell you, you got to catch some of these titles.
They're very funny.
Wasn't that part of the orientation lecture?
Section. Well, there's that thing, there's 2 pages in the handbook that says 10 ways to help your superintendent fail, 10 ways to help a board member fail.
Yes.
Yep. And it says, for instance, section 2 is terrible board teamwork. Terrible habit number 8, disrespect a fellow board member. Number 11, abstain from tough votes. And number 14, do too much homework. So they're interesting tongue-in-cheek titles and actions. It talks about terrible personal style, like accept gifts and radiate negativity, do favors for people and stuff like that. So I have a text that in advance of the retreat, I will send you out nothing you have to act on at that time, but just stuff that tells you what we will be working on with this text for like a prompt.
Will it be a test?
Pardon?
Will it be a test?
You'll have to wait and see.
He said, not going to do too much homework, so.
Terrible. Thank you, sir.
So the August date, we don't know yet,
August 16th will be the board meeting, but just a board meeting.
at night.
Yep. Yep. Because Sue is very thankfully reminded me that is the retreat date. Somehow I missed it on the schedule, so.
I got a feeling like a lot of my bad habits are gonna be.
That's why I selected the book, but I think this would be a nice read.
Number 9, donations. Other than this book.
Nice. So Noble Middle School Building Pride Day received a donation from Anchor Fence from Bragdon Lane in Kennebunk, and it's in the form of 7 bags of privacy fence panels valued at $631.82. So if you picture chain link fencing and where we have a porta potty for the fall and spring sports, and there's typically one out there in the summer too, near the garage, there's some chain link fence. And that's one of the things that people from that organization said, hey, you know what we have that you could use, these would probably be helpful to you. So they provided the 7 bags of that material that they said it would take to run the length of that fence. I think school colors and everything. So thought I would share that. And while I'm at it, there's a company called River Drive in Buxton. And I drive by this occasionally and I look and I think, I see all these whiskey barrels out there and I'm thinking, wouldn't I love to get my hands on some of those for woodworking? Woodworking, like a major cribbage board out of a barrel stick. It was a whiskey stick too. They would like to donate $3,000 to the middle school for recess equipment. So as the school transitioned from a 7-8 to a 6-7, there's nothing really out there for the kids to do that would be age appropriate for them or just fun stuff. They would also like to volunteer their time to work on preparation and installation. Wow! So I would ask you to consider those 2 donations to Building Pride.
I make a motion, we accept those with gratitude.
Yeah, second that motion.
I don't know, what was it going for? We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor? That's outstanding.
Isn't that something?
Moving on to new hires, retirements, and resignations. I understand you had quite a bit to read.
Because probationary status are by May 15, so I have, and I'll take them by probationary year. On the resignation side, I expected to see this one because I knew that Molly was thinking about it. Molly Noonan Green, who works at Hussey School, she and her husband have decided that she is going to be, I think she's going to be staying home to do child rearing. She's, let's see, Leanne, she hasn't delivered yet last time I knew. I think
There's
there's a couple of folks over there.
No, I think she might have.
She might have, okay, all
I
right.
think she did.
All right, good, thanks. So she's sent in her resignation saying that that's going to be her next calling is, and we know she'll come back to education at some point, that's her guess. And then the second one I have is from second grade teacher Cassie Edwards, who is going to try her hand at some different things as well. I don't know what those are at this time. So those are the two resignations for you that I would need.
What grade level is Molly?
2 and 2. Yep.
Any motion to accept the resignations?
Make that motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Thank you. Okay, so probationary staff nominations. I have 18 first-year probationary people that we're asking you to approve moving forward. I have 27 second-year probationary, and you might recall that in the state of Maine, it's a 3-year probationary period before someone moves to continuing contract. That happened maybe 3 years ago. And then I have 16 names that I'll read to you from probationary 3 moving to continuing. Does that sound like, can I do a page level and then hear from you about that? Okay. Stephanie Beeskow, these folks are at Hanson. Stephanie Beeskow, kindergarten, Robin Hayes in special ed, and Nicole Winship in special ed. And then at LES is Donna Tem, our new Excel teacher there, and Liz Erickson, who's teaching 5th grade. At Hussey, we have Megan Ward, who is the school nurse, and Rhonda Tweed, the kindergarten teacher. At Knowlton, we have Kim DeGard, who teaches special education, and Missy Royce, a 4th grade teacher. Emily Frisbee, and I'm going to read off about 6 names from the middle school. Emily Frisbee, ELA. Becca Pauling is the art teacher. Matt Reed is ELA. Wendy Ryan is the nurse. Name might sound familiar to a few of you. Wendy's worked for us a couple of times and has decided she can't beat this gig. This gig, we're great. So Peter Casasa-Bluen is ELA. And also between the middle school and NBES is Carrie Costello, is a social worker in special education. Then at the high school, Troy Blattner in math, Mike Nealon, who is Angela Nealon's husband that works at Hussey, is ELA, and Matt LeBlanc is special education.
So it's 18, right?
Yes, those are probationary ones.
Need a motion to move them on to probationary 2s. We have a motion. We have a second. Okay. All those in favor?
And we are in full swing with our evaluation systems and feel very confident in these people moving forward. Yes. As we are with the probationary 2s and 3s to continuing contract. In NBES, it's Shauna Street, used to be Shauna Boyd, she's in guidance, and Justin Petrick, the music teacher. At Hanson, there is Kristen Bennett in guidance, Barbie Desmond in grade 2, Caitlin Fink, yes, she is related. If you're 11 in person, it's her daughter. and she got the genes.
She's awesome.
Rory Malloy in speech, used to be Rory Christensen. Laura Winter, used to be Laura Peartree. Ashley Fanuth in grade 1. I forgot to mention Laura is in kindergarten. So those are the Hanson folks. At LES, so as you listen to this list, you realize, boy, there's a lot of staff that Patty and Heather are responsible for the probationary status periods, and they're doing a great job. Andre Couture in grade 4, Chrissy Gray in grade 4, Kevin Loranger in grade 5, Julianne Smith as guidance, and again, Rory Malloy is doubled up in this list, so that's going to be 26 people. At Huzzy, there is Elise Rowe, who used to be Elise Bothell, and Caroline Schwab. At Knowlton, there is Rachel Whitehead. At the middle school, we have 2 folks. Marty Campbell is in health. Oh, I forgot to say Rachel is in grade 5 and Caroline is in kindergarten. At the middle school, Marty teaches health and Missy Hafnecker is in science. And then at the high school, we have Katrina Aspinwall in our French program, Spencer Hodge, one of our multiple pathways folks. Kristen House is in guidance. Chris Jones is in special education. How do you like that, Stan? Chris Jones, remember that name?
Trying to get it back.
Nope. You need to come to us.
Yeah.
We do miss him.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, he is.
Kristen Legier in math, Adam Nye, whom you saw this evening, in science, and I'm jealous of his haircut, and Sarah Stoll, who is in science, and Karen Veit, another multiple pathways person. She's in the science part. And lastly, but not leastly, Ben Francisco is in the special ed at MHA. Those are the 26 people for probationary 2 to 3.
Do I have a motion to move these folks on to probationary 3? There's a motion. Is there a second? And a second? All those in favor?
Great. We're loving our lineup for next year. How's that? We have probationary 3 going into continuing contract. We have Kaylee Hatch, used to be Kaylee Barrett, she's in kindergarten. Cassie Vizina, who is in speech. I forget what her previous name was. Sarah West is a school nurse. Bruna Whitney is in grade 5, and those are the Hanson and Lebanon teachers. At Huzzy, there are several third-year people. There's Karen Storr in grade 2. Angela Nealon's in music. Kristen McKenzie is in grade 3. Debbie Morse is in the 3rd grade, and Missy Raymond is in 3rd grade. In the 4th grade, moving to, though I think she's going to be moving to the middle school. I think I saw today in an email that she's going to be one of the science teachers at the middle school. Is Rachel Mayo, used to be Rachel Lee. We have Bridget Dumont, who is in tech, and she's going to move to one of Chris, she does the STEM program, she's going to move to one of Chris Russo's other roles here as well. Jessica Cutliff is in math at the high school. Matt Eaton is math at the high school. Jess Miller is math at the high school. Rick Melanson in his 95th year is in math at the high school. Probationary for life. And Ingrid Strange, who used to be in ed tech for us as well, is English here at the high school. 16 names.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion with congratulations.
Oh, very nice.
Is there a second?
Second that motion.
All those in favor? Great, thank you for your help and patience. I did have the letters from those 2 folks. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to other business.
SRTC, that's the letter that you have there too. They're pleased and honored to invite any board members who would like to attend an SRTC graduation. It's not graduation, it's a recognition. I'm sorry, I used the wrong term. Stan, you and I did, which one? Oh, that was Adult Ed.
Adult Ed.
Last year.
Yeah, that was a great song.
Very nice, very nice. It's one of my favorites. And this is as well. SRTC Student Recognition Night will be held on Tuesday, May 29th at 6:15 in some place called Noble High School Huzzy Theater. Because Sanford's not air conditioned, and the first time I went to one of those, I was like, are you guys kidding me? We got AC. Come on over.
This is the last year we'll be doing it,
the last
though.
year we'll be doing it with the group. So if you want to catch one, this is a shorter ride. Well, maybe it's a shorter ride.
Yeah, it's not a short
I just thought of that. Since you are a supporter of career in technical education, I hope you can join us for this awards session and help us recognize the accomplishments of our students. Very special evening. Prior to the event, the culinary students will be serving light refreshments for all of our students, parents, guardians, and guests at 5:45 in the lobby at Noble High School. So if you wish to attend, you could just let me know, and I will pass that on so you can kind of get some head counts on that. We also, let's see, was there something else? Yes. Special Olympics today. So it's been at Kittery since I've been here, and probably for a number of years, at Kittery Middle School.
Yeah, for like
Which has
25 years.
been really nice of them to host that. Last year, Sue had talked with folks there, I think it was at least last year, about, it is kind of difficult parking out there on, what's that road up to there? Is it Agamenticus or something? One of the, there's a road out there that's not an easy one to park on. And it's a bit of a hike to get to the field. And so we talked about, hey, we've got it's a high school space, and it's a legitimate track area and things like this. So would they be interested in thinking about transitioning the event to Noble High School? Yes, we would consider that. So our lead person at the school district, Kristen Hardingham, did some great work on this stuff, and today the torch was passed from Mr. Kinsey, who represented Kittery, to Noble High School for the foreseeable future. So we're greatly pleased that, and it's great for us too. I mean, we're recognized for our students and our staff and community members for representing and honoring the uniqueness of each individual. And this is just another great extension of that. So it was a really nice event, went extremely well today. Great thanks to staff, from special education staff to custodial crews to the folks to Dennis and Debbie Dean, who were the people that really spearheaded all this work 20 some odd years ago. And to Mr. Price, who was Monty Hall today.
Yeah, he was great. It was just a great turnout, and it was just, I'll post some pictures and stuff to you guys too, because the Berwick Police Department presented the colors today. Then the chamber singers did the national anthem, and we had a kiddo do the oath, the Special Olympics oath, and he practiced for months to do it. It was really cute, and because normally he's not super clear in his speech, but he did a great job.
He did a great job.
Yeah, and then Kelly was here and did the invocation. It was just, and then Dustin was like the star of the show, doing the whole 9 minutes. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Kristen Hardingham and Crystal and Keenan, Deb Hasty, they just really did a phenomenal. Christine McClellan, our special ed group is terrific.
It was well organized for how many people were there. It was a huge turnout.
Yeah,
and then once the kids found out there was a guy with a microphone walking around, and little herds of kids because they wanted to talk.
Yeah.
I allowed one person to do it, and I was like over by the long jump, like, hey, is everyone having a great time? And they're like, yeah. Then after that, word got around, so I'm walking, can we say something like, yeah, come with me really quick. So I went to like the 50-yard dash, I'm like, all right, here we go. Can you guys get loud? Go, go, go. Yeah, I let everyone cheer, and it was a fun time.
And he was trying to drown out the music because he wasn't sure who selected it and said it sounded like a funeral dirge. The last thing I knew, I was listening to AC/DC. I don't know what he was talking about. But anyways.
It was not AC/DC. I'm pretty sure it was an 8-track.
I think you'd probably be right.
I was supposed to go in the booth, but I took the remote mic, and so Paul from the athletic department, Zelinsky, goes, well, I've got some CDs in my car, I can put them in. And I think one of them was something like Jukebox Party, and then Swing Night or something like that.
It was fine.
It was fine. It was good.
It was good.
What was really neat is when I was teaching, and I don't know if this happens at all the schools in the district, but at the Hanson School, we meet, because we couldn't go to the Olympics because we were teaching, so we had the kids make signs and banners, and when the bus rolled in, everybody clapped nonstop till our hands hurt. And the kids got off the bus just so proud.
That's it. Everyone
Now they
else
do
did
it
the same
both
thing.
ends.
They do, okay, I'm so
Both
glad.
ends. Like today, this morning, before the kids went out to their events, every kid in the high school was in this atrium somewhere.
And it was all of like, so
cheering
Deb's
and
room was over here,
high-fiving.
and they were all the
They usually do that every year.
Yeah.
Yes, it really.
Mike
you have
Archibald
to see
started
one of
that.
those one time.
It's been great.
It just, I mean, it really,
Well, Laura was telling me that as she was walking through with Deb's
Well,
kids,
yeah,
and she teared up at the end of it, because there was, you come through and you see all these people, and then you but it went the entire school. And so it was really overwhelming.
Yeah.
I'm sure the kids were like, but. Yeah, but it was great.
It was just so great to see all the kids supporting them.
Yeah,
and-
very much so. And they were coming out, like, the track kids ran everything and did a phenomenal job. Someone said to Dennis, who's been doing this forever, when did you have time to train these kids? He said, I didn't. They just did it. They really just put their whole heart and soul into it. It was great.
and our kids who came out and volunteered to work the events today, they just make us proud
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, we're lucky.
We got through about 80% of the events, and then the Doppler ticker on the phone came up saying, they got about 8 minutes to get out of thunder and lightning, so we headed in, took about 20 minutes to get everybody inside the A and B gym, which I thought was really good, moving that size crowd, and there are some complexities with moving some folks. And about 10 minutes later, it started to look like, is this going to clear out here or not?
Yeah, I
But
was
by that
first
time,
at that point.
you have to make a call. You have to say where you're going to continue or we're not, because the forecast was 1 o'clock, it's really going to go crazy. Well, by 12:57, it went nuts.
We had a nice big old downpour, so we all felt better. I was like, oh, good, we called it for a reason. Yeah,
And
it
the
was great.
last bus, kids had just gotten on the last bus, and I'm standing in the parking lot with somebody, a couple of folks, Susan Ackley, a couple of other people, and the lights blink, and you're thinking, I'm outside, that wasn't light blinking, that was a strike, that was thunder and lightning somewhere. So it was perfect timing. Lebanon Selectmen, I had an opportunity to go over to the Lebanon Selectmen meeting before our meeting. I don't think I did this update, but I had a really good opportunity to talk on some subjects, talk about a letter from September 22nd from legal counsel, talked about that dealt with Berwick's questions about the funding formula. And then I talked about the schools in Lebanon and phases and needs, and then I talked a little bit about the major cost drivers here. Had it really just very happy to have the opportunity to meet with the three Lebanon selectmen. May 15th, I'm going to be addressing North Berwick, and I've got a request out to Steve. I think that was just sent out today, and I'll get on the agenda there to do the same. So looking forward to opportunities to go to the other two towns as well. And last thing is, there's an annual sportsmanship, Stan, you might be able to help me with the title for this. Sportsmanship, it's not a roundup, it's a what? It's not an assembly, it's the SMAA Sportsmanship Conference maybe? Or
Yeah, something like that. And they give out, of course, they give out sportsmanship awards in every individual sport to schools. And I think at the end, they recognize the school overall.
They do.
Sportsmanship Summit, sportsmanship banner.
Summit.
Yeah.
And so who's the school that walks away with the Sportsmanship Summit banner is
Noble High School.
Noble
I'm
High School.
surprised that your head isn't floating in the ceiling.
You know,
Every day something brings it back
it's been
to
a nice few days.
These are the highs, we don't hear all the lows. That's terrible.
But really, in
Some of
general,
them.
we're so lucky to have
Yes.
the community that we
It's
have, the
great.
kids that we have, the support that we have around. We're very, very
You
fortunate.
know, it's not 100, nothing's 100%, right? We had an incident at a sporting event, a home sporting event 2 days ago, and I issued a no trespass order to a former graduate, and just said this is not becoming to our, you see, you stand up for the principles, and you say this is how we conduct ourselves, and it's what we expect of our parents, our visitors, and our former students, and our current students. So sometimes you have to remind people that we do have high expectations, and that we get good support from administration and police if we need it to make sure those things happen. Thank you.
Any other business?
Steve, you want to talk about our meeting that we had last week?
Yes, Mr. Dwyron, I would love to hear you talk about it.
No, I asked if you wanted to.
Oh, if I wanted to talk about it. So, thank you. So we had a crisis roundtable meeting, and we had representatives of fire and rescue, we had representatives from local police, we had not the state police, the sheriff's department was there as well, representative of the sheriff's department. We had York County Emergency Management representative, and we had some phases. We looked at, what are the things, what's the newest stuff that you're finding out about? And so we talked about that, and we listened to them about it, and we talked about what's the potential for either state funding or for federal funding to come through and provide us some assistance to do things, particularly on hard enclosures and so forth. That seems to be the focus of the dollars. It's definitely not on personnel. And you know what? Captain Locke from Berwick made some points during that were just right on the mark as far, to me and to people in the room, 27 different people, about what we really need to be thinking about, what typical durations are of events, what you're going to do in that short beginning period when things occur, how you handle that, what your preparedness looks like. So we've got some really, I'm not going to talk about it, but just to say that we've got some, Sue sent out an electronic piece that had a nice update for us. We're doing some immediate simple hardening, facility hardening in all of our schools. That's not going to be expensive at all. And we're also going to be doing training with staffs, all staffs, about this is the newest belief in what you need to be ready to do. And it's not just about, well, what happens if something happens at a school? It's what happens if something happens anywhere. Because we're not the only place that schools aren't in. It could be the mall, it could be a sidewalk, it could be anywhere. So how do you just teach adults how to be prepared for those kinds of instances, and how do you then talk with students about certain things without creating, how do you help them feel, instead of powerless in a situation, to feel that they can take some power? And does that help them get past the anxiety and the feeling of, because it can create a feeling of hopelessness. That's part of the goal of those kinds of things, to take people's power away. So how do we help to give it back is one of the stances we're going to take. And I thought it was a really good exercise. We also had people go to breakout groups afterwards for the different towns and to think about what's in the plans, how do different agencies know what's going to happen, who's going to take what, how are the plans aligned, what further work needs to be done with those. We changed our concurrence page that I share with you folks at the start of every year on our plans that says that things have been updated. There's a line in there now that includes the fire and the local police, that they have reviewed those plans and advised us on that. It's been in the high school one for a couple of years, but for some reason we didn't have the same form at the other levels. So we've got that going on. What am I missing? We had Tom Folding come in. Tom is the guy from the judicial circle. He just retired after 37, 38 years in national security levels, federal security and judicial levels. And he came through a second time. He just came through this week with Ronnie Delisle to go do a walk around while there's typical day movement in a school, and to do some advising and some pointing out of things for us. So Tom is very helpful. We're looking at October 5th, which is a PD day. That's the day when SRTC doesn't have school because they have the state event in Augusta. So that's a PD for us. And it's a major focus for that day is going to be that empowering people not to feel powerless and what kinds of things that they can do. We'll do some things right at the start of the year, and we'll slowly be adding our simple hardening activity device, and we'll continue on October 5th to move that stuff forward.
They're going to get
try and get better involvement and more involvement between schools and emergency services, so that we can all be on the same page. So, working on.
Communication is a big deal.
Communication is a big issue.
Just a thought, is there somebody on the staff who would be qualified to do a workshop with parents? I know parents get very anxious when these things happen and they don't know how to talk to their children, and they don't want their children to be afraid. They want to talk to them in a constructive way.
I think what you'll see is we're working from an emergency services perspective of having meetings with teachers, just starting to go to the schools, or at least in Berwick, go to each school in Berwick and have meetings with the teachers to discuss that stuff. We did it at the middle school recently, or the police department did, but we're going to do it at the North School and at the Hussey School. And I think out of that, my hope is that you'll see a parent meeting as well, to discuss some of that stuff with parents. The Lebanon Fire Chief was here, so
yes,
he was part of the
Steve
process.
Merrill, yeah, he was part of the conversation, and definitely wants to play.
Any other business?
Maybe a question about the situation in Augusta right now and the implications for us and everyone else. I really can't believe that happened, that they did not, at least, vote on the school.
And that's troubling. And
It is.
I think I copied the board on my letter to our legislators to see if they can act on some of this and help. I heard back from Karen Garish today, who was in the governor's office and having conversations about this piece, so she filtered some information back to me. Also Beth O'Connor, so two people immediately, just said, hey, this is what we know of and what's happening. And the information they shared was more than the information that I have. You can't be in so many places at the same time. So I'm concerned that there is not a date for a return session. In that they may inadvertently set a precedent that says that the DOE/governor's office can set the mill rate for education and it doesn't have to be finalized by the legislature. I'm looking at that saying, what sense does that make? Why do you want to leave that to political will of just a few people instead of political will of the representatives of the state? It's at $851 right now. That's a $540,000 increase to us. Does it stay there? I haven't heard a person, not one feedback from, like I was saying, that people are upset about that and they're going to help to drop that down like we had last year when it dropped from 832 to 821. This year, not a word about it, so I'm concerned. The last thing I think we want to see is a decision that the money that we start receiving by July 1st is going to change. So,
yeah, I was going to ask, we created a budget based on what we think is going to be sent to us. How does that affect things? How do you plan for being able to use that money when it comes in late and not having enough money to run programs that have been approved?
So if it comes in late, that's a separate piece. Like we have reserves that you know about how much a typical payroll is. So how can you do? Did you have enough cash reserve to do 2 payrolls or at least 1 payroll and get you through the 3rd week and hopefully to the 4th week? Because that's a large ticket. We're talking about $875,000. I'll just ballpark it at that. Closer to $1 million to get through a payroll. So if it's late, we have reserve. If it is put off, 4 years ago, the May and June payments were canceled in March. That was a difficult thing because we had to look at, okay, are we going to stop doing this? We froze everything we possibly could, and we looked at, are we gonna have to be prepared to talk with contract groups about a phrase that's in contracts that says local condition. So when, that's a backup for any school district, is it says, this is what a contract looks like, except in the case of local condition. So, for instance, in Wiscasset, the Maine Yankee, when it closed and they lost all that money, or Brunswick when, the Naval Air Station closed. So they knew those things were coming, but they still catch you off guard, and they have to figure out how to do without $1 million. So that local condition phrase says you can go back and renegotiate the impacts of those sorts of things.
Any other business or questions?
We don't want to do it. I wanted that signed and gone, and I thought it was going to be done. I'm really surprised.
Seems like every year we do a budget, though. This is our typical last part of the year.
Well, this is the second year of a biennial budget, and it's a short session, and they had, it was kind of like unfinished business, $1 billion, and then they went back on May 2nd, so we're thinking, okay, then they're just going to resolve this, because there's been no debate about the things that we're talking about, and yet, what is it, LD 1689, I think it is, or something like that, wasn't resolved. So, caught a lot of people off guard. I'm not sure why that's the case.
I think the atmosphere up there is very toxic and partisan, and they're not even talking to each other. They're not making eye contact anymore.
Yeah, I think there's infighting going on between same party.
It's a shame.
Yeah, well, that's the end of other business then. We can move on to public input, second edition. Do we have any public input?
There's a Knowlton Band Chorus concert.
There is a Knowlton Band Chorus concert.
May 22nd.
May 22nd.
Not sure the time. 6:30?
Sometime in the afternoon. Early evening.
You said the 22nd?
Yes.
It's at 7 p.m.?
7 p.m. Okay.
The not so early evening. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to finish off tonight's business with an executive session pursuant to MRSA 405-6D negotiations. I'll ask for a motion in a minute. And after that, we're not going to come back and do any other further business, so we'll be finishing the broadcast after this motion. So I need a motion to go to executive session pursuant to MRSA 405-6D negotiations.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? And we are now in executive session. Have a good night.